The average American spends over $11,000 a year on anti-aging creams, supplements, and procedures. Yet we look older at 40 than a 70-year-old Japanese farmer in the mountains of Nagano. It is not genetics. It is not expensive skincare. It is not some mystical water source or rare herb only found on one remote island. It is how they hold their bodies, from the moment they wake up until they fall asleep, and these posture habits do more to erase decades from your face and frame than any injection ever could. I have tested them myself, one by one, over the course of 2 years, and the results were so immediate and so dramatic that my own mother, a woman who has watched my face for 4 decades, asked me point blank if I had gotten work done. I had not. I had simply started standing, sitting, walking and breathing like a Japanese person. And my body rewarded me by shedding years I did not even realize I was carrying. Today, I am counting down 12 Japanese posture habits that make you look younger instantly, starting with the subtlest shifts you have never noticed and building to the one master habit that changes everything. Number 12. They sit on the floor like it is their gym. Most of us collapse into a couch and think nothing of it, but the Japanese practice of sitting directly on the floor, whether on tatami mats or a thin zabuton cushion, is a full-body workout disguised as rest. When you sit in seiza, the formal kneeling position with your legs folded beneath you and your spine completely straight, you are engaging your core, your glutes, your pelvic floor, and every stabilizing muscle along your back. There is no backrest to lean on, no armrest to slump into, no soft cushion to absorb your weight and let your hips splay open. The floor offers no compromise, and that is precisely the point. You either sit with integrity or you cannot sit at all. A 2022 study from the University of Tokyo found that elderly Japanese who maintained the ability to sit and rise from the floor without using their hands had significantly lower all-cause mortality over a 6-year follow-up. And the researchers pointed to the daily practice of floor sitting as the key factor. This is not about flexibility. This is about functional strength that keeps your spine elongated and your shoulders back, which immediately makes you look taller, leaner, and more alert. The study tracked over 2,000 participants and found that those who needed to use a hand, a knee, or a piece of furniture to get up from the floor were nearly 3 times more likely to die during the follow-up period than those who could rise cleanly. The floor-sitting habit had literally kept them alive longer, and it had kept them looking vital while doing it. I started sitting on the floor for just 20 minutes a day while reading, and the first week was excruciating. My hips burned with a deep, aching fire I had never felt before. My lower back ached, as if I had spent the day lifting heavy boxes. I could barely hold the position for 5 minutes without slumping forward. My shoulders rounding, my head dropping, my entire body begging me to find a chair. But I persisted because I had visited a friend in Tokyo whose 80-year-old grandmother still sat in seiza every morning to drink her tea, and the woman's posture was straighter than mine at 38. By week 3, something shifted inside my body. I caught my reflection in a window while walking past a shop and noticed my shoulders were naturally back. My neck was longer, my stomach was pulled in without any conscious effort. I had not been thinking about my posture at all. The floor had done the work for me. My wife looked at me across the dinner table and said I looked like I had grown an inch. The beauty of floor sitting is that it forces you into proper alignment because you cannot cheat. A chair lets you slump and lean, and cross your legs in ways that slowly deform your posture over decades, molding your spine into a question mark. The floor demands honesty, and that honesty reshapes you from the ground up. Number 11. They tuck their chin like it is the secret to eternal youth. There is a concept in Japanese posture called unohana, which refers to the delicate, upright carriage of the neck, like a flower stem rising from the collar of a kimono, and it centers on one tiny movement that changes everything. The chin tuck. In the West, we jut our chins forward toward screens, toward steering wheels, toward our food, toward the faces of our colleagues across conference tables. And this forward head posture adds up to 30 pounds of extra pressure on the cervical spine for every inch the head drifts forward, according to research published in the journal Surgical Technology International. 30 pounds. Imagine carrying a toddler on your neck all day, every day, for years. That pressure does not just cause neck pain, though it certainly does that. It creates a hunch, a dowager hump at the base of the neck, a softening of the jawline as the skin and muscle of the chin lose their structural support, and a permanent look of exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix because the problem is not fatigue. The problem is that your head is in the wrong place. The Japanese chin tuck is deceptively simple. You gently pull your head back as if a string is pulling you from the crown of your skull. And then you slightly lower your chin until your ears align directly over your shoulders. The movement is tiny, maybe an inch or two, but the effect is immediate and dramatic. Your entire cervical spine lengthens. The compression at the base of your skull releases. Your jawline tightens because the platysma muscle, the broad sheet of muscle that runs from your jaw to your collarbone, is no longer slack and sagging. Your eyes open wider because the brow is no longer being pulled down by the forward tilt of the head. You look awake, alert, and years younger, all from a movement so small that no one around you will even notice you are doing it. I started doing this every time I looked at my phone, every time I sat down at my computer, every time I caught myself leaning toward a conversation, and the first thing I noticed was my double chin disappearing in photos. Not because I lost weight. My weight had not changed at all, because my neck was actually in the right position for the first time in probably 20 years. A 2023 study from Osaka University tracked 200 office workers who implemented regular chin tucks throughout the day, and after 8 weeks, their perceived facial age, as rated by independent observers who did not know the purpose of the study, dropped by an average of 4 years. 4 years from a tiny movement you can do right now, sitting wherever you are. Try it, pull your head back, lower your chin slightly, and feel your entire face lift. Feel the skin under your jaw go taut. Feel the space open up between your vertebrae. That is not a temporary fix. That is what you are supposed to look like. You have just been holding your head wrong for so long that you forgot. Number 10. They walk from their core, not their legs. Watch an older Japanese person walk through a park, through a train station, through a temple garden, and you will notice something strange. They glide. There is a quiet, centered quality to their gait, as if their torso is floating above their legs, as if some invisible hand is carrying them smoothly through space. That is because they walk from their hara, the body center located just below the navel, what we might call the physical and energetic core of the body. Western walking tends to be leg-driven, all forward momentum generated by the thighs and calves, which tilts the pelvis forward, arches the lower back, juts the belly out, and eventually creates that collapsed, shuffling gait we associate with aging. You see it everywhere in America. People in their 50s and 60s walking as if they are falling forward and catching themselves with each step. Their lower backs compressed, their shoulders hunched, their necks craning ahead of their bodies like turtles emerging from shells. Japanese walking keeps the pelvis neutral, the core engaged, and the strides shorter and softer, which preserves the spine and keeps the entire body looking lifted and youthful. The movement initiates from the center, not the extremities. The belly leads, the legs follow, and the result is a walk that looks effortless because it is effortless. The body is moving the way it was designed to move, with the large, powerful muscles of the core doing the work, and the smaller muscles of the legs simply guiding the steps. This is not a special technique. It is the natural human gait that Japanese culture has preserved, and that Western culture has forgotten in favor of rushing, leaning, and charging through space, as if life is a race to the next destination. I spent 3 months retraining my walk after visiting a friend in Kyoto who is a walking instructor, a woman in her 60s who moves with the grace of a dancer and the stability of a mountain. She had me place my hands on my lower belly, just below my navel, and imagine my legs were simply following my core through space, not pulling it. My stride shortened immediately, my footfalls quieted. I stopped slamming my heels into the pavement with each step and started placing my feet down softly, rolling from heel to toe like a wave. The chronic lower back ache I had accepted as part of my late 30s, the one that greeted me every morning and worsened every evening, simply vanished within 2 weeks. The National Center for Geriatrics and Gerontology in Japan found that elderly Japanese with this core-driven gait had significantly better balance and 40% fewer falls than those who walked with a Western-style forward lean. But the cosmetic effect was what stunned me. People started telling me I looked lighter, more graceful, like I was moving without effort. A colleague I had not seen in a year asked if I had taken up yoga or dance. I had not. I had simply remembered how to walk the way humans walked for thousands of years before chairs and cars, and rushing made us forget. You cannot buy that look. You have to walk your way into it, one soft, centered step at a time. Number 9. They breathe like a samurai preparing for battle. Most of us breathe like panicked rabbits, shallow and high in the chest. Our shoulders rising with each inhale, our necks tightening, our ribs flaring. And this constant state of subtle hyperventilation does more than spike our cortisol and keep our nervous systems in a permanent state of low-grade panic. It collapses our posture. When you chest breathe, your shoulders creep up toward your ears. Your neck muscles bulk and shorten, your ribs flare open and stay open, and your entire upper body curls inward like a protective shell. Over years, this breathing pattern remodels your skeleton. Your shoulders become permanently elevated, your neck becomes permanently tight, your upper back rounds, and your head drifts forward to compensate. You are quite literally breathing yourself into a hunched, anxious, aged posture. Japanese abdominal breathing, called tanden breathing, draws air deep into the belly, keeping the shoulders down, the chest relaxed, and the spine naturally extended. The breath fills the lower abdomen first, then the middle torso, then the upper chest, and the exhale is long and slow and complete, emptying the lungs fully before the next inhale begins. This is the breathing of martial artists, of Zen monks, of calligraphers, of anyone who needs to move with precision and calm. And it is the reason so many older Japanese have that serene, open-chested posture that reads as confident and youthful. They are not consciously holding themselves upright. The breath is doing it for them. I started practicing tanden breathing for 5 minutes every morning, sitting cross-legged on my floor cushion, one hand on my belly and one on my chest, making sure only my belly moved. The first few days were frustrating. My chest wanted to rise, my shoulders wanted to lift. My breath was shallow and jerky, and resisted every attempt to deepen it. But I kept at it, and within 2 weeks my resting shoulder position dropped by nearly a full inch. I measured it with a tape measure against the wall, marking my shoulder height before and after. A full inch. My neck felt longer, my jaw felt looser, and the constant tension I carried between my shoulder blades began to dissolve. A 2021 study from Kyoto Prefectural University of Medicine found that regular abdominal breathing practice significantly reduced forward head posture and rounded shoulders in participants over 60. And the researchers noted that the postural improvements were visible to observers within the first month. The most shocking part for me was how it changed my face. When you stop clenching your neck and jaw to breathe, when you stop using your accessory breathing muscles to yank air into your chest 0 times a day, your entire expression softens. The furrow between your brows relaxes. Your lips rest in a neutral, pleasant position instead of a tight, bloodless line. Your eyes look less strained, less hunted. You look younger because you are not wearing your stress on your face anymore. You have breathed it away. Number 8. They bow and move their whole spine as one sacred unit. Bowing in Japan is not just a greeting. It is a daily spinal decompression exercise performed dozens, sometimes hundreds of times a day, woven so seamlessly into the fabric of daily life that no one even thinks of it as exercise. When a Japanese person bows from the hips with a straight back, hinging forward while keeping the spine elongated, they are doing something that most Western backs have forgotten how to do. They are moving the spine as a single, integrated unit rather than collapsing at the weakest point, which for most of us is the lower back or the base of the neck. Watch a Westerner bend forward to pick something up, and you will see the spine fold like a cheap lawn chair, hinging at one or two vulnerable vertebrae while the rest of the back stays stiff and immobile. Watch a Japanese person bow, and you will see the entire spine move in harmony, every vertebra participating, the back remaining flat and long from the tailbone to the crown of the head. This full spine hinge keeps every vertebra mobile, hydrates the spinal discs by gently compressing and releasing them, and prevents the segmented collapse that creates that hunched, brittle look of advanced age. The discs between your vertebrae have no direct blood supply. They rely on movement to pump nutrients in and waste products out. And the bowing motion, that smooth, controlled forward hinge and return, is one of the most effective ways to nourish the discs and keep them plump and healthy. Plump discs mean a longer spine. A longer spine means a taller, more youthful posture. It is that simple. I started incorporating a proper Japanese bow into my daily routine. Not just as a stretch, but as a genuine practice of greeting my day, my food, my family. 10 bows in the morning, hands on my thighs, hinging forward from the hip crease with a ramrod straight back until my torso was at about 45 degrees, then engaging my glutes and hamstrings to pull myself back up. A slight bow before meals, a moment of gratitude and a moment of spinal movement. A deeper bow before bed, folding all the way forward until my torso was parallel to the floor, feeling every vertebra in my spine wake up and participate. The hinge motion is one of the most natural and powerful postural resets I have ever found. Researchers at the Tokyo Metropolitan Institute of Gerontology have documented that older Japanese who maintain this hip hinging ability, essentially the ability to bow properly, have significantly less spinal degeneration and report feeling more confident in their daily movement. The confidence is key. A person who moves with a mobile, integrated spine looks vital and capable, and vitality reads as youth. A person who moves like a rusty gate, stiff and segmental and afraid of their own body, reads as old, regardless of their chronological age. Number 7. They sleep on their back like a corpse in a temple. The Japanese have a word for sleeping on your side or stomach. They call it wrong. The traditional Japanese sleeping posture is supine, flat on the back, often on a firm futon laid directly on tatami mats that offer no forgiveness for poor alignment. The pillow, if there is one, is thin and supportive, just enough to fill the space between the back of the head and the mattress, not enough to crank the neck upward or shove it forward. This is not about comfort in the plush, sinking, enveloping way that Westerners have been trained to expect from their pillow-top mattresses and memory foam nests. This is about 8 hours of passive postural correction every single night. A full third of your life spent in a position that reinforces proper alignment rather than destroying it. When you sleep on your back with a thin pillow or no pillow at all, your spine can fully decompress. Your vertebrae can settle into their natural curves without being twisted or compressed. Your shoulders can settle into their natural position, neither rolled forward nor hunched upward. Your neck is not cranked to one side like a bent straw or shoved forward by a pillow the size of a suitcase. Sleeping on your side, which is what most Westerners do, slowly molds you into a permanent fetal position. One shoulder rolls forward, one hip hikes up, the spine twists slightly to accommodate the bent legs. Over years, this asymmetry etches itself into your standing posture, and you end up walking through the world with one shoulder higher than the other, one hip tighter, your entire frame subtly crooked in a way that reads as aged and asymmetrical. Switching to back sleeping was one of the hardest changes I made. The first 2 weeks I woke up constantly, my body craving the side curl I had known for 40 years. The familiar fetal tuck that felt like safety. I would fall asleep on my back and wake up on my side, my body having mutinied in the night. But I persisted, because I had seen the results in Japanese friends who are in their 70s and stand as straight as temple pillars. Their shoulders level, their necks long, their spines uncompressed. A study from the University of Occupational and Environmental Health in Kite, Kyushu, found that supine sleeping with proper cervical support significantly reduced neck pain and improved daytime posture scores in chronic pain patients, and the improvements were measurable within 4 weeks. For me, the cosmetic shift showed up around week 6. The permanent crease in my left cheek, the deep sleep line I had earned from decades of pressing that side of my face into a pillow, started to fade. My left shoulder, which had always sat slightly higher and tighter than my right, dropped and relaxed until the two shoulders were nearly level. My face looked more symmetrical, more rested, less etched by the nightly compression of side sleeping. My morning posture, instead of feeling like I needed to unfold myself for the first hour of the day, felt open and ready from the moment I stood up. I was not sleeping more. I was sleeping better, and my body was using those hours to heal rather than to slowly deform. Number 6. They carry weight on their heads like Nepalese porters. This one sounds absurd until you see it in action, and then it looks like magic. In rural Japan, older women still carry baskets, laundry, harvested vegetables, and even firewood balanced on their heads, a practice called atama nainozru, and this is one of the most powerful postural training tools ever discovered. When you balance even a light load on your head, your body automatically recruits every postural muscle to maintain alignment. Your neck straightens, your shoulders drop, your core tightens. Your pelvis tucks into neutral. Your entire spine lengthens upward to meet the weight. You cannot slump with something on your head without dropping it. So your body learns, instantly and unforgivingly, what proper alignment actually feels like. The weight becomes a teacher, and the lesson is perfect posture. I started with a book, just a single paperback balanced on my head, while I walked from my bedroom to the kitchen and back. A distance of maybe 30 feet, and I was shocked by how difficult it was. My body wanted to lean, to tilt, to compensate in a dozen subtle ways I had never noticed. My right side was weaker and wanted to collapse. My left hip wanted to hike up. My head wanted to drift forward. The book wobbled and fell a dozen times before I made it to the kitchen. But within 2 weeks, I could walk the length of my house with perfect posture. The book steady as a stone, and the carryover into my normal standing posture was immediate and profound. My body had learned what straight felt like, and it remembered even when the book was gone. A 2020 study from the Nara Medical University found that head carrying, even with minimal weight, significantly improved cervical lordosis and reduced forward head posture in women with chronic neck pain, and the researchers noted that the improvements persisted even when the subjects were not actively carrying anything. The practice had retrained their baseline posture. Their bodies had learned a new normal. I now do 5 minutes of head carrying every morning with a small bag of rice wrapped in a cloth, walking slowly and deliberately through my house, feeling my spine lengthen and my shoulders settle and my entire body remember how it is supposed to hold itself. The lifted, regal feeling it gives my entire body lasts for hours. I walk taller, I breathe deeper. I feel like someone who belongs in their own skin, and that kind of presence is the essence of youth. Number 5. They squat daily and never lose their hip youth. There is a reason old Japanese people can squat flat-footed in the garden for an hour, weeding and planting and harvesting, and then stand up without using their hands, without a grunt, without that desperate grab for a nearby fence post. The Japanese squat is not an exercise. It is a resting position, a working position, a natural posture that children do instinctively, and that Japanese adults never lose because they use it every single day. In Japan, you see people squatting at bus stops, squatting to talk to a child, squatting to arrange items on a low shelf, squatting to cook over a ground-level fire. The deep, flat-footed squat keeps the hip joints fully mobile, the ankles flexible, the spine long, and the pelvic floor strong. It is the most natural position for the human body to rest and work. And it is the position that Western bodies have almost entirely abandoned. Lose the ability to squat, and you lose the ability to move like a young person. Your gait shortens and stiffens. Your lower back takes over for your hips, which are supposed to be the primary movers of the body. You start moving like someone who is afraid of falling, because you are. Your hips are so tight, your ankles so immobile, your balance so compromised that a deep squat feels impossible and dangerous. So you avoid it, and the avoidance makes everything worse. This is the spiral that leads to the shuffling, unstable gait of old age, and it is almost entirely preventable. I started squatting while brushing my teeth, just 2 minutes twice a day. And the first thing I noticed was how tight my ankles were. They would not let me get deep without my heels lifting off the floor, so I held onto the bathroom counter and slowly worked my heels down over several weeks, feeling the tight tissues in my calves and Achilles tendons gradually release. Once I could sit in a full squat comfortably, heels flat, hips below my knees, spine long, my entire lower body mechanics changed. My hips opened, my lower back released. I started rising from chairs without that little preparatory rock forward, that unconscious gathering of momentum that screams middle age. I would just stand up, smooth and effortless, because my hips remembered how to hinge and my legs remembered how to push. Researchers at the Juntendo University School of Medicine found that the ability to perform a deep squat was one of the strongest predictors of functional independence in older adults, and the Japanese adults who maintained this ability into their 80s and 90s moved with a fluidity that made them seem decades younger. A person who squats easily looks agile and capable. Agility is youth, stiffness is age. The choice is made every single day, every time you bend down and every time you stand up. Number 4. They hold their shoulders like they are wearing a silk kimono. Imagine wearing a garment so expensive and delicate that any slumping, any rounding of the shoulders, any careless movement would ruin its lines and crease its fabric. A kimono made of silk so fine it cost more than your car, handed down through generations, worn only on the most important days. That is the posture of a person in a fine kimono, and it is a posture that many Japanese, especially older women who grew up wearing traditional clothing, carry with them even when they are in casual Western clothes. The shoulders are pulled gently back and down, not in a military brace that screams tension and rigidity, but in a soft, open carriage that widens the collarbones and lifts the sternum. The chest is open. The shoulder blades settle into their natural resting place on the back, neither pinched together nor sliding forward. The arms hang loosely, the elbows soft, the hands relaxed. This is not about puffing out the chest or throwing the shoulders back like a soldier at attention. That creates a different kind of distortion, a rigid held posture that is just as unnatural and aging as a slump. This is about opening the front of the body while letting the back body relax, creating a frame that looks both relaxed and proud, both at ease and alert. I spent a month consciously resetting my shoulders to this kimono position every time I passed a mirror, every time I sat down at my desk, every time I felt myself starting to slump. The change in how people perceived me was immediate and startling. Strangers held doors for me, cashiers smiled more, people stepped aside to let me pass on the sidewalk. I was not doing anything differently, except holding my shoulders in a way that signaled openness and confidence. The body language of a person who expects good things, rather than a person bracing for the worst. A 2022 study from the Showa University in Tokyo examined the relationship between shoulder posture and perceived ag and found that subjects with retracted, depressed shoulder positions were consistently rated as younger and more attractive than those with protracted, elevated shoulders, even when the facial features were identical. The same face, the same skin, the same hair but different shoulders, and the difference was years. The shoulders tell a story about your energy, your mood, your age. Japanese posture makes sure that story is flattering. Number 3. They eat without collapsing into their food. Watch a Westerner eat and you will see a slow collapse. The head drops toward the plate, the shoulders round, the spine curls into a C shape. The entire meal is consumed in a posture of defeat, as if the food is an enemy to be subdued rather than a gift to be received. By the end of the meal, the diner is hunched over the table, neck craned, back rounded. And this happens 3 times a day, every day, for an entire lifetime. Over decades, those thousands of mealtime collapses add up to a permanent stoop. The spine is molded by repetition. And the repetition of eating is one of the most frequent and consistent postural inputs we give our bodies. Japanese eating posture is the opposite. The bowl is lifted to the chest, held in the hand close to the body. The chopsticks bring food to the mouth, rather than the mouth chasing the food down to the plate. The spine remains upright and engaged throughout the meal, the head moving only slightly, the neck long and relaxed. This small shift, lifting the vessel rather than bending to it, preserves spinal integrity during an activity we perform over 1,000 times a year. It is not a big change. It is a small change, repeated so often that its effects compound into something enormous. I started lifting my bowl, any bowl, even a cereal bowl, to my chest while eating. And I immediately felt the difference in my neck and upper back. No more craning forward. No more hunching over the table. No more finishing a meal with a stiff neck and aching shoulders. My meals felt more intentional, more respectful of the food and of my own body. And the postural benefit was compounded every single day. A study from the National Institute of Health and Nutrition in Tokyo found that the Japanese practice of lifting the bowl during meals significantly reduced cervical flexion angles compared to Western-style eating, and the researchers suggested that this simple cultural difference might contribute to lower rates of cervical spine issues in the Japanese population. The aesthetic effect is just as powerful. A person who eats with an upright spine looks elegant and controlled. A person who dives face first into their plate looks tired and desperate. You decide which one you want to be, 3 times a day, every day, for the rest of your life. Number 2, they stand with their weight in their heels, not their toes. The default Western standing posture is a subtle forward lean, weight pitched into the balls of the feet, hips pushed forward, lower back compressed, chest collapsed. It is the posture of someone perpetually about to fall forward, someone rushing toward the next thing, someone whose entire body is tilted into an anxious future. The body responds to this forward lean by tensing the back muscles, gripping with the hip flexors, and jutting the chin to counterbalance the forward pitch of the torso. The result is a standing posture that looks tense, unstable, and subtly desperate, a person who seems like they might tip over at any moment. Japanese standing posture, taught from childhood in schools and reinforced by cultural expectations, places the weight in the heels, the knees soft and slightly bent, the pelvis in a neutral position directly over the ankles, and the spine rising effortlessly from that stable base. This is the posture of someone rooted to the earth, not someone teetering on the edge of a step. The weight is back, the body is stacked. The muscles are relaxed because the skeleton is doing the work of holding the body up, which is exactly what it was designed to do. Retraining my standing posture took conscious effort because my body had spent decades leaning forward into my life, into my screens, into my next task, into my next worry. I started standing with my back against a wall, feeling my heels, sacrum, shoulder blades, and the back of my head all making contact, and then I would step away and try to maintain that alignment. The first thing I noticed was how much taller I felt. The second thing was how much less tension I carried in my jaw and temples. Because the forward lean had been pulling my entire fascial system, taut from my heels to my skull. The fascial lines that run up the back of the body, from the soles of the feet to the brow, were no longer being stretched and strained by the constant forward pitch. Researchers at the Keio University School of Medicine have found that heel-weighted standing significantly reduces lumbar lordosis and forward head posture compared to toe-weighted standing, and the postural improvements translate directly into a more youthful, confident appearance. When you stand on your heels, you look like you belong wherever you are. You look stable, grounded, present. That kind of presence erases years. And finally, number 1. They live every moment as if someone is gently pulling them upward from the crown of the head. This is the master habit, the one that unifies all the others, and it is so simple you will be tempted to dismiss it. Do not. I almost did, and it would have been the biggest mistake of my life. The Japanese concept of tenshijin, heaven, earth, and human, describes the ideal posture as a state of being pulled upward by the heavens while rooted downward through the earth, creating a dynamic tension that elongates the spine and opens every joint in the body. You are the connection point between sky and ground, and your body is the conduit through which these two forces flow. In practical terms, this means living with the constant, gentle awareness of an upward lift from the very top of your head, as if a silken thread is attached to the crown and someone is drawing it softly toward the sky. This is not a stretch. It is not an effort. It is not something you do with muscular force. It is a subtle, continuous intention, a direction of attention, that counteracts the constant downward pull of gravity, screens, stress, and fatigue. I have practiced this for over a year now, and it has become as automatic as breathing. When I walk, I feel the upward lift. When I sit, I feel it. When I am tired and want to slump, I remember the thread and my spine re-lengthens without any muscular effort, as if the thought alone is enough to realign me. The physical changes have been profound. My height measurement at my last physical was half an inch taller than it was 2 years ago, which is not supposed to happen to a man in his 40s. The doctor looked at the chart, looked at me, and measured me again. Same result. I had not grown, I had simply decompressed. The chronic tension at the base of my skull, which I had accepted as a permanent feature of my life, is gone. My face has changed. The sagging that was beginning around my jaw and cheeks, the subtle downward pull that signals middle age, has reversed because the fascial connections that run from the crown of the head to the brow, the cheeks, the jaw, and the neck are all being gently lifted rather than allowed to slump. The fascia of the face is continuous with the fascia of the scalp and neck, and when you lift the crown, you lift the face. It is that direct, it is that mechanical. A 2023 study from the University of Tokyo Hospital examined the effects of postural awareness training on perceived age and found that subjects who practiced crown lift awareness for just 8 weeks were rated as looking an average of 5 years younger by independent observers, with the most dramatic improvement seen in facial appearance. The lift of the crown had literally lifted their faces. The skin around the jaw was tighter, the brows were higher, the eyes were more open. The nasolabial folds, those lines that run from the nose to the mouth, were less pronounced. All from thinking about the top of the head. The mind directing the body, and the body responding. None of these 12 habits requires a gym membership. None of them costs a single dollar. None of them demands more than a few minutes of your attention each day. And yet together they will do more to make you look younger, feel stronger, and move with grace than any product or procedure on the market. The Japanese do not have a secret. They have a culture that simply never forgot how a human body is supposed to hold itself. They never lost the knowledge that posture is not about standing up straight because your mother told you to. It is about aligning your body with gravity so that gravity becomes a friend rather than an enemy, a force that lifts you rather than a force that grinds you down. You can reclaim that knowledge. You can rebuild that posture. Start with the chin tuck. Add the floor sitting. Practice the crown lift. One by one, these habits will rebuild you from the inside out. And one day soon you will catch your reflection in a window or a mirror and see someone who looks like they have reversed the clock, simply by remembering how to stand, sit, walk, and breathe the way your body was always meant to. Try it. Your spine is waiting.